A jilted lover, a lonely, unsatisfied housewife, and an unwanted distraction in the form of a handsome hunk, Haseen Dillruba starts off with a bang, quite literally. The plot involves a small town called Jwalapur, where a Delhi-based girl finds it hard to adjust to the rhythms of her household chores and a husband who's a meek, docile nerd. Things come to a boil when his hunk of a cousin enters the scene and makes advances towards Rani Kashyap, who does not hesitate to reciprocate his feelings. Like the fictitious Hindi pulp novelist quoted in the film, Dinesh Pandit, this is a film that reads like a pulp novel that's just hard to put down once you get started. The film owes its title to the song Jawani Janeman, Haseen Dillruba from the film Shaan, and the lyrics of that song aptly describe this film. Mile to dil jawan, nisar ho gaya, shikar khud yahan, shikar ho gaya. Without revealing too much, I'm just going to say you have to trust me on this one. Kanika Dhillon, who has written Haseen Dillruba, also wrote Man Marziyan, another story about a girl torn between a sober, well-educated man and a cool dude who's impossible to resist. But Haseen Dillruba is a story of two halves. The second half being an ode to Drishyam, a suspense thriller that has paved the way for films like Haseen Dillruba to exist. Also, in the way of inspiration, one has to look back at classic Hollywood film noirs, films with dark, pessimistic themes and signature motifs such as alienated anti-heroes, dark shadows, and seductive femme fatales. There's also another older film that comes to mind, Sam Peckinpah's violent, psychological thriller Straw Dogs, which also was about a nerd inflicting revenge on his tormentors. The police procedural sequences also remind us of the recently released Raat Akeli Hai, another film about mysterious deaths in small town northern India. As I've mentioned earlier, there are two halves to talk about in Haseen Dillruba. In its comedic first half, Kanika Dhillon takes ample jabs at the concept of arranged marriages. We meet a cantankerous mother-in-law and her docile husband. Their small town expectations come in the form of wanting a homely bride for their son, who needs to know how to cook and to cook well. Taapsee's Rani Kashyap, a Delhi-born and brought-up girl, meanwhile, has Draupadi-like expectations of her husband, inspired in part by reading and fantasizing about heroes found in cheap Hindi pulp novels. In a hilarious scene, Rishu, played by Vikrant Massey, chides her by saying, "Aapki requirements to 5-6 alag-alag logon ki hain." There are also a plethora of awkward and funny moments between the newlywed couple, which I thought worked quite well. Rishu also seeks advice on how to tame his wife from his best friend, highlighting and in a way critiquing the patriarchal mindset found in small town India. But social commentary aside, when it comes to analyzing the two halves of the movie, I'd say that both parts are equally enjoyable. The second half is completely dominated by the suspense and mystery elements, though. As far as performances are concerned, the entire supporting cast in Haseen Dillruba deserves a round of applause. From Aditya Srivastava's role as a weary and cynical police officer who investigates the crime committed in the opening act of the film, to Yamini Das, who plays Taapsee Pannu's hard-to-please mother-in-law. Dayashankar Pandey, who plays Vikrant Massey's father, and Ashish Verma, who plays his best friend Afsa, are also quite good in their respective roles. Harshvardhan Rane, who plays the cool dude who entices Taapsee Pannu, is unfortunately just about okay. Taapsee herself is not so impressive either. Now we can agree that it's a difficult double act that she has to perform, playing a femme fatale and also a reformed, loving wife, but Taapsee doesn't quite get all the nuances right. She is fine in the first half of the film, but comes across as entirely predictable in the second. It doesn't help that her stock mannerisms are on full display during the more dramatic scenes of the film. Man Marziyan, directed by Anurag Kashyap and also written by Kanika Dhillon, still remains her best performance to date. And this brings me to Vikrant Massey, who's just brilliant and masterful in his portrayal of Rishu, a character that goes from being a meek and submissive one at the beginning of the story to being cunning and also quite vengeful towards the end. He certainly deserves full marks for portraying this amazing transformation. What I also like about the film are its dialogues. They not only help create a great atmosphere, but also work wonders on multiple levels. Some of the lines are caustic and funny, but more often than not, they are laced with the bitter truth and harsh realities of life in small-town India. I should also compliment Vinil Mathew for his direction, which is mostly subtle and non-intrusive in nature. Among the many scenes that I enjoyed, I can still recall one particular scene where Vikrant Massey looks at the figure of a sleeping Taapsee Pannu filled with rage and uncontrollable jealousy. Vinil Mathew lights up the scene with hues of red to signify the passionate nature of the scene. Now, this is just one example of small but deft touches that Vinil Mathew has incorporated into this film. I found the music and songs of the film to be a bit underwhelming. Maybe it's just because I haven't given them time to grow. Given that Amit Trivedi has composed the entire soundtrack of Haseen Dillruba, I certainly expected a little bit more. So, what are my concluding thoughts on Haseen Dillruba? I think the film deserves a big thumbs up. It's a welcome addition to the Desi film noir genre, and it certainly deserves a watch for its unpredictable twists and turns, its genuine attempts at finding humor in a small town setting, for its crisp and funny dialogues, the excellent supporting cast, Vikrant Massey's performance, and so much more. So that's a wrap, guys, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to my review of Haseen Dillruba. I'm sure some of you will have your disagreements with me as well. Let me know in the comments below what are your thoughts on the movie. If you think this review was helpful, please do hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get notified for future reviews. Finally, if you did like my video, please do smash the like button, as it will help the YouTube algorithm to spread the word. See you guys in the next one.